Welcome to the wonderful world of quilting. If you're watching this video, it's because you're either thinking of making a quilt or you're already a quilter, but perhaps finding it a little bit expensive to carry on with this fantastic hobby. If you are, carry on watching. Hello again, my name's Diane and I design and make patchwork quilts. And I recently uploaded a video explaining how I make quilts on a tight budget, and I shared my tips with you. And I also asked the rest of the quilting community if you'd like to share your tips with other quilters, and you have. And so this video is about me forwarding all of your ideas to the rest of the community. So I did a little bit of light research. So basically I had a little quick look on Google, and apparently there are 21 million quilters worldwide at the moment. And we spend an average of 2 hours a day quilting. I know personally some days I spend more, some days I spend less, but probably works out a good 2 hours a day per week. And because of the sheer size of the group that we belong to, of course we're attracting commerce. And there was an interesting survey. It was called the Size of the Quilting Market Quilting Trends Survey, and the results were published in 2022. And it was by Abby Glassenberg for the Craft Industry Alliance. And this is some of the things that it reveals. Hold on to your hats. So the first point didn't come as any surprise to me. It says the average quilter is a woman in her 60s who has been quilting for over 10 years, and she starts approximately 10 to 12 quilt projects in a year. Well, tick, that's me. I'm that person. Interestingly, it says that in the US and Canada, new quilters are representing 8 to 10% of the population. And so women are starting earlier in their 50s because they have additional time and discretionary spending. So that means probably the children are older, if they've had children, or they're taking a step back in their professional life. Perhaps their household bills are a little bit less, so they have a little bit more money in their pockets to spend. This is where it becomes shocking. It says in the US, the quilting industry is expected to reach a staggering $5 billion between the years of 2026 and 2027. Just let that settle a minute. It says an average quilter, whoever again that may be, spends annually on quilting supplies $3,363. Now, of course, that's going to be an average, and that's annual. So some years you're going to buy expensive things like sewing machines or whatever that you wouldn't always. But I mean, however you look at that, it's an awful lot of money. And this little quote came from Statista Consumer Insights, and they found the indications are that more quilters are now using their stash than buying new fabric. And you have given some tips to the rest of the quilting world on how we can use our stash and alternatives. And so that's what we'll get on to next. Let's have a look at some fabric and cheaper ways of buying fabric. So if we're going to give out a star of the week for all things frugal and thrifty, it has to go to Joy. Joy wrote in and said that she had just finished a quilt that she and her family love, and she used recycled and bargain buys and charity shop finds, and it cost her £3. £3 for something to love. So brilliant, Joy. I don't think many of us is going to beat that, but well done. And even that itself, hunting for treasure in charity shops, I mean, that's a great thing to do as well. Okay, so charity shop finds, upcycled material, bargain buys. 3 obvious ones, isn't it? But worth remembering. Thanks, Joy. So I think the best way to cover this is to think about a quilt as being in 3 parts. So we've got material we want to find for the top part. We want material that we want to find for the batting or the wadding in the middle. And then we want to find material that we can use for the backing. So we're looking at 3 different areas, and I've got 3 lots of ideas that people have shared for that. So the first one we'll have a look at is the top. So this is the all singing, all dancing, showy part of the quilt. And so this is where we're going to put our best material. Okay, the first place I suppose would be a quilt shop. If you have a local quilt shop to you, then you would go there, and that is going to be more expensive than other retail outlets because they have a wider range and they have designer things, and you're looking at a niche market. People are going there who are going to buy expensive fabric usually, so you've got that expendable income. But the whole idea of making this video is to try and find ways that we can continue our hobby on a budget. So we'll look at the fabric that you can buy in a quilt shop. So typically quilting cotton is 44 inches wide. You can get wide backs, which is extra wide for going on the backs of the quilts, but typically it's 44 inches wide, and often it's priced on the shelves per metre or per yard, but you can buy it in half metres, you can buy it in quarter metres, and sometimes your quilt shops will sell it less. My quilt shop will sell it in 10 centimetre width of fabric, which is 4 inches, and you can also buy pre-cuts. So a popular pre-cut is a fat quarter bundle or a fat quarter, and that is the width of fabric that has been divided in half and then half again. So it's a quarter of a yard or a metre of fabric. So it's called fat quarters, and you get those in bundles often. So you can also get charm packs, and they come in different sizes, 3-inch, 5-inch. You can get layer cakes, which are typically 10-inch squares of a variety of fabric. You can get jolly bars, which are half of a 10-inch, so it's 10-inch one way, 5-inch across. And you can also get jelly rolls, which are typically the width of fabric, and it's 2.5 inches wide. So those are the most popular pre-cuts that you can buy. And we'll start off by looking at fat quarter bundles. So we're talking the top of our price range. So I had a look in my fabric store, and the cheapest fat quarter bundle I could buy there cost £19. There were 5 pieces in there. It was beautiful cotton, really lovely to feel, and it was by Jason Yenter. So Jason Yenter is a fabric designer and a quilt designer and an author. So if you want to make something special and you're confident, then that is the cheapest in my store that you can start buying fat quarter bundles from. And there are also quilt shops with outlets online, and through Amazon I've recently bought this fat quarter bundle, and it's from a quilt shop called Overdale Fabrics, and in here I have 6 pieces, and it's beautiful quality. It's tone on tone, so I'm saving this for a special project. And this one was £14.99 with £1.99 delivery charges, so £17 in all. So that is something I was willing to spend for a special occasion. But then on the same day that I bought that, I also bought something else from Amazon, and I'll show you that one. So it's Christmassy, so I bought this fat quarter bundle, and as you can see there are 7 pieces, and it's very Christmassy because I'm making a Christmas tree wall hanging and I want to make some Christmas stockings, and they were, let me have a look, £8.99. So 7 pieces for £8.99. You do need to be aware though when you're buying fabric online and looking at the sizes of these fat quarter bundles. So the designer ones were 18 inches by 22 each fat quarter bundle, whereas these ones, the cheaper ones, are 16 inches by 20 inches, which is perfectly fine for what I want, but just to be aware of that. Okay, I think now we need to just have a little chat about the quality of quilting cotton before we go on to other retail outlets. So quilting cotton is always made from 100% cotton, and it's a plain weave and it's tightly woven, so it's nice and smooth, and it's typically called a medium weight. Now this is where the devil is in the detail. So you might have fabric that is called quilting cotton or craft cotton. That is often interchangeable, and that doesn't reflect the quality of the cotton. And there is a standard measure for medium weight cotton. That's quite a wide range. So standard measures, I mean, you don't really have to bother with this. This is why we like the tactile experience of going out and feeling it. You know, remember that saying, feeling the quality, not the width? Well, it's that with quilting fabric. So it's 150 grams per square metre up into 370 grams a square metre. So there's a good range. Obviously 150 grams is going to be a thinner fabric than 370 grams. And in ounces, that's a range between 4 ounces and 6 ounces per square yard. So there's quite a big difference, and all can be suitable. So traditionally, quilting cotton or craft cotton is a little bit crisper than dressmaking cotton. It's stiffer, it's sturdier. All you really need to make sure is that when you sew it and you're going to have batting in the middle, that the weave isn't loose enough so that you'll see the quilt filling coming through. And you want it to be stable enough so that when you're sewing it, it doesn't stretch, it doesn't warp. And that's it really. And the only reason I've included that nugget of information is because sometimes if you're buying online or you're picking up fabric and you're new to quilting, you might see those measurements on there. So it gives you an indication of how thick the fabric will be. That's all. I mean, if you're there to feel it, you don't really need that. But if you're buying online, it's an indication of what the fabric might be like when you receive it. I hope that helps a little bit. So I bought both of these from Amazon, from 2 different retail outlets, both described as medium weight quilting cotton. This one is much thicker, and I shall use this in a quilt that is going to be a little bit special and something that will be washed and worn many, many times, hopefully, kept for a long time. Whereas this is a lot thinner. I'm going to use it as a wall hanging in Christmas stockings, and that is going to do the job perfectly. So different qualities, different prices, different uses. So that's something else to bear in mind. Okay, so now we know all about the weights of quilting cotton, and we know about different sizes that we can buy, pre-cuts and yardage. But what about overbuying fabric? Catty Bob wrote in and said that she overbuys because she purposefully wants to create scraps for further projects. And sometimes I buy extra material, extra yardage, if it's a versatile fabric and I know that I will definitely use it again in the future. But you can go one step further and buy large amounts, bolts of fabric. And so I've gone onto Amazon today and I've had a look at some prices there. So let me just share that with you. And so on Amazon today, I looked for a 15-metre bolt of fabric. So it's 44 inches wide. It was tone on tone, white and cream, something that I would definitely use, and it cost £84. So when you break that down, that works out at £5.60 a metre, so that is really economical. So that could be, if you've got enough money for the initial outlay and the place to store it, that could be another way that you're buying fabric at bargain prices. And the reason I've looked at Amazon is because the research shows that 46% of quilters go online daily looking for quilt related products, and Amazon is a global market and it's accessible to a lot of quilters. But there are other ones out there. Etsy is another one, and that sells lots of material if you're a quilter looking to buy things, pre-cuts, designers. Just be cautious of the resellers that are out there, and I'll cover that a little bit later. But there are good bargains to buy, and you know now the sorts of quality you're looking for with the weights. And from a lot of these stores online, you can also buy scrap bundles. And to be honest, for me personally, it's been a little bit hit and miss. I have tried it. Sometimes the fabric is too small for me to use, or it's just not the sort of quality I would like. Or if it's a mixed bundle, there can be anything in there really, jersey fabrics or netting. So things I wouldn't use. If you're going to make a crazy quilt, perhaps a scrap bundle might be an economical way of gathering scraps together. And you've also got eBay and Facebook, where you've got independent sellers like me, quilter. Perhaps I want to get rid of some of my stash and I might put that up. There's no regulations when you're buying online. You could return something to those people, but it'd be a bit of a bother. So again, you're taking a bit of a risk, but sometimes you can get a real bargain there. So that's something else that we can buy when we're looking for bargains. So the research tells us that most of us still like to go out into a bricks and mortar shop and buy fabric, feel it and buy it something we can see. And I tend to shop in a shop by me which is called Hobbycraft, and that sells a mid-range of cottons. Typically I like to spend about £8 to £12 a metre or a yard for the fabric I buy for my utilitarian quilts. If I was looking for something a little bit more special, like a designer one, I might go to a quilt shop. You're not going to get the K facets in Hobbycraft, but you will get a good range of quality fabric. I think in America it might be similar to a Hobby Lobby or to Michael's, which is a craft store. So Hobbycraft in the UK sells arts and crafts material, and it's recently expanded to sell lots of fabric now. There's lots of bulbs, and that's growing. So if you're new to quilting and you live in the UK, I'd have a look in Hobbycraft and see what you think. I just wanted to mention about resellers. I have this fat quarter bundle here that's come today, and there's 5 pieces in it, and you can see it says Hobbycraft. And I bought this online from Amazon, and there's 5 pieces, and the designer is Bethany Salt. It's nice quality, I really like it. And I paid for this £8.43. If I was going to go into Hobbycraft itself and buy one bundle of fat quarters, that would cost me £8.50. Just be cautious though about the resellers, because an exact item like this is often on Etsy or in Amazon, and they're £14.99. So just keep an eye out for that. And then people ask me about buying fabric from places like The Works, The Range and Aldi, and they sell fat quarter bundles, quilting cotton, and if you feel the weight of it, you'll see that it's at the lower end of the standard weight measures. But again, it depends what you want to use it for. In The Works, I could buy a fat quarter bundle that had 5 pieces and it cost £6. In The Range, I could buy a fat quarter bundle and that cost £4.99 for 5 pieces. And in Aldi, it's similar costs. If you're going to use it for things like tote bags or lining of bags or food covers, which I have in the past, it's been really durable, perfectly fine, and it's washed well. There is shrinkage, but there's shrinkage with all material. You always have to bear that in mind. But otherwise, depending on what you want to use it for, I wouldn't say no. There is a caution though. If you're buying fabrics from places like Aldi, and it's something from a franchise, so if it's Disney fabric or if it's Marvel fabric or Harry Potter fabric, then Aldi have a license with the franchise, so they can sell people their designer fabrics with their images on, and that's perfectly legal, and you can buy that and make it for a quilt for yourself. What you can't do is buy that fabric, make a quilt, and then sell it on to somewhere like it's Etsy in a shop. You've bought it to use for personal use, but not resale. So just be cautious of that. If you just think about it, I know that people have had their shops closed down on Etsy because they were selling franchised products without a license. So a bit complicated there, but something else to think about. There will be alternatives to quilting cotton. Obviously, you'll see things that are made from old t-shirts or upcycled fabrics, and if you are interested in more of that and you have any ideas that you'd like to share with other quilters, if you send me those ideas through, and there's enough, I'll put them together so that we can have a little video of alternative top fabrics. And just before I finish talking about fabric that we can buy for the tops, so there is another alternative to quilting cotton which is quite popular and one I've used on occasion, and that's cotton poplin. It's a little bit cheaper. Again, it's sold in the standard weight, so you're looking for a medium weight because that does vary, and it is a plain weave again, just like the quilting cotton, but it has a higher thread count and it's more tightly woven, so it has a smoother and more polished appearance. That's the description of it. It is strong and durable though, the same. When you're quilting, because of the smoothness, it might be a little bit slippery, but you'll soon get the hang of that. Is that something you want to do? It doesn't wear quite as well as a quilting cotton, so I would use it on a top, but perhaps not so much on the backing where you might get more wear. So I think that's enough now about the tops. Well, it's getting late and I've just realised what the time is, so this video is long enough, I think. I know I've only covered the top, but I will cover the middle and the backing in another video, because I've had lots of ideas given to me, and if you want to share any other alternatives, please do. But for now, I'm going to go. Thanks very much for watching. If you're still here, take care of yourselves. Bye.